Okay, I'm going to do a second review on this. The first one was it was rubbish. Don't even bother looking at it. This is the Revell DH82 AC Tiger Moth at 1/32 scale. The length of it is 22.8 or 228 millimeters, sorry, and the width is 27.7, which is 277 millimeters wide. That's the wingspan. The part count in this, I'm not sure about. On the side of the box, you've got it in different languages and all that sort of thing. And you've got some pictures of the actual model. This side you've got again a bit of bump, a bit of information on that. Right, okay, there's nothing really on the side of this box, so like I said, I'm going to try and go a bit more detail into this because I do know quite a bit about this particular model. I'm going to slide the parts out for now. They're all out of their bags because I've already done this once. I'm not going to put them back in the bags for you. You know I've already opened it. Okay, let's start with the top sprue here. Floats on this. Now, they're not used in the Revell kit. In the Matchbox kit, they've got them in the instructions of how to put this on. If you can find those instructions, you can do it. You don't really need the instructions because they're very self-explanatory. There's 2 holes to be drilled for starters, and 2 holes to be filled up in the fuselage section. Having said that, I do actually have the instructions somewhere. I'm sure I still got them. So I'm going to dig those out so I can do the float version which I had before. A little bit about the parts now. They're very clean. They're Matchbox, so some of the moulding is a bit soft now after so many years of being moulded. And on the reverse side, we've got part numbers in the actual parts. On the engine covers, they're on the inside. So if you have the engine open, you'll have to sand those off. But that's very easy. If they use double parts like this, the struts here and that, the numbers are actually on the tree and not on the part. And these 4 struts are individually numbered, so they go in certain places. Right, like I said, there's no flash on the tree, and there's no flash on the... No, there's no flash on the tree. But the parts, there's no flash on them. There is a small mould line to take off. But apart from that, they're very good, especially for this age of kit. And the remoulding by somebody else. They have moulded it all in one colour. I think, if I remember right, I think it was 3 colours originally moulded it. Next sprue up, the fuselage. Internal, good details. A couple of pin marks you're going to have to fill, this one and this one here. I won't worry about the rest of them. And on here you've got one here and you've got one down here, and that's going to have to be filled. This one here, it's sort of like half and half. If you have the figures in here, if you're going to use the figures in here, I won't worry about them. They'll be hidden, you won't see them. This has also got the fin on here, nice ribbon effect on the fin, and a very small mould line around the outside. Good recessed panel lining on it, which it did have actually. Some people sort of complain, saying no, it didn't have that. One thing about the kit itself. Now, if you were doing a metal-sided aircraft or a sheeted wood-side aircraft, these marks along here you would want to fill and flatten down. However, this is a canvas covered aircraft. On the bottom half The top half round piece here was a sheet, but the bottom half was a canvas covered framework, and these marks are from the frame inside where the plastic is actually slightly deformed during cooling. But leave them there because that gives you a good representation that there is a framework inside the aircraft, so we'll leave them on. Other parts here, again, here we've got some parts of it. They're slightly rounded off on the edge because of the age of it and that, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. The underside wing section, it's the joining part of the wing. Really, I wouldn't worry about it. They're fine. The parts there look great as far as I remember. Right, next sprue up, we've got the engines, we've got the pilots on here. The mechanic pilot I didn't talk about, but he's very good. He's got an individual face. The pilots' clothing are exactly the same, no matter what they're both exactly the same. The faces are exactly the same, but this one's got a tash that's a bit more separated between the nose, and this one goes straight across his face. But I would suggest, actually, if you're going to put the pilots in, one of these people will lose their moustache with a bit of carving and sanding off, give him a smooth face, so that they are different in the front and rear cockpits. There's a little, no, it's not flash, sorry, I thought there was a bit of flash on there. There is tiny bit of flash on the engine front edge, and I'm looking over the tree for others. That's the only bit of flash on here. There's flash on the tree like here, which don't worry about. There's a bit of flash on these parts here, which are a couple of nuts. I can't remember where they go now, but there's a couple of bits of flash on the nuts, but they're easily cleaned up. Tail wheels all in one piece. There is a mould line around it that will have to be taken off, but apart from that, everything else looks okay. The instrument panels have got the placements for the dials. These are actually wooden face panels, and I think sometimes they actually paint them when they redone the aircraft, but originally these were actually just a varnished wood grain on the panels. And on the details, I do know that you can put the individual dials in there and soak them in with some microsol, microset, and they'll go down lovely. I know they did last time. They should do this time round, even though it's a Revell one and not a Matchbox one. There is the landing struts here. There is a landing struts here. Sorry, I've got a bit of noise there. The side fairings, they've got shrink marks on them. They're going to have to be filled, and because these were aluminium shrouds on these, and you'll need a nice smooth finish on those. Skis, if you put these on, the bottoms need a little bit of filling. There's a couple of depressions here where these are on the bottom end, but they look okay. A bit of mould line around the outside of them. All in all, quite nice. The exhaust, I would suggest drilling out. There's only the one to do, but drilling that out would just enhance that so much better. So another one, pretty clean, not much flash on that at all. Next part, we've got two virtually the same. They're the top wings, and there is a couple of pin marks that you're going to have to sand down on the edge, just here and here, just to make sure they're out of the way. But that's the only, well, I'd do those three if I was on the trailing edge. And there's one on the trailing edge on the top part of the wing here, and again the same for the bottom. Do the trailing edge, I won't worry too much about the bottom, the leading edge, just the trailing edge you do. The centre section of the top wing, there's a tank here. That's the not too bad. Not too bad at all. That will show up nicely in the painting. This one's got slats on the wings, on the top wings. Yeah, top wings. Bottom wings, you've got the ailerons, which are separate. They would be placeable if you wanted them placeable, but they're just like square picks, go square holes. That you'll have to alter it slightly and have them so you can change the angle of them. But that's easy enough done. Struts, I'm looking at them. Some of the plastic's smooth, some of the plastic's rough on this, so you've got to watch it. The struts are wood. It looks like they've got polished edges and rough on the centre section. Right, there's slats there, they're alright as well. There's no flash on those. Look, that's a good parts on there as well, no flash. The second half, we've got the other pieces here. Like I said, I thought we'd talked about this one. There's a small mould line to go around the outside, no flash to talk of. Aileron actuators on here, and these funny little things here are the, if we put them down here, these three pieces here. You'll need to drill these out so you can put the wire cables in for the control lines. And there's a few other holes to drill in this as well for control lines and wire struts. Last piece is the clear. It's typical Matchbox. It is quite thick, but it is a 32nd scale. It's very clear. You've got a full canopy here, and you've got the two windscreens here. And the float plane can go either way. They're quite good. They're reasonably still crisp and clean. And easily masked up, because it's straight across the top here and here, and straight across the bottom here, and that's it basically. Just fill it up. Very easy to mask. The ones that are a bit harder to mask are the smaller little triangle side windows here, but it's still easily done. Just a little bit more tricky. On to this piece here, which is the decals. You have three sets of decals here. I can't remember what that one is now. What is that one? Let me just have a look in this thing here. That's Netherlands. That's I don't know why I forgot that. So you got two. You got British, Netherlands, and Canadian here. So I'm wondering if we can get a new sheet. Different decals for this. I'm sure you can, because this is actually the Ravel one, 1997, and it's not the Matchbox one. So they've redone the decals for this. What we've got here is we've got the Tiger Moth number 5 glider training school, Royal Air Force, and this one here we got number 6 flying elemental flying school, Royal Canadian Air Force. And this is the Command of the Netherlands Army Air Force. I don't like even pronounce that. 1947 to 1997. You see, so they've very long lived. The Canadian Air Force is 1940, and the glider training school is 1943. So wartime, and after the war. So you have got quite a choice here in Ravel's ones. I've got to go back and check on the Matchbox ones, see which ones they did in that. Right, the instructions again, bump history, legend call out, paint chart, don't bother with that. Again on here, I didn't show it here, but there's a ball of twine to use for the struts. And again on here you can see, here is a blacked out parts not used. All the rest in here are used. There is no other black parts apart from the float parts. And we start with the instructions here, typical Revell. Actually, I can't really say typical Revell because I've just had one with a right messed up instructions in it. They say start with a pilot and an engineer in part 1 and 2, and then start on the seats, and then straight in at part 4 you've got a load of holes to drill with a 0.6mm drill. Now you're going to have to get a box of drills for this if you haven't already. Where are they? Oh boy, I had them here just a second ago. This will do. You can buy them on the market, you can buy them in model shops or whatever. Mini box HSS twist drills, 20 pieces, 0.03 to 0.1 to 1.6 millimeters. You get 20 pieces in a set. They're usually between $1.99 for the really cheap nasty ones to about a £5. So I would suggest you try and get the more decent ones. And you'll also need a pin vise to use them with, or a mini drill as I've got here. They're very useful to keep in your toolbox for making models, but this one you're gonna need it throughout. There's loads of holes to drill for the strut wires, because the very first thing you've got to do before putting the fuselage together is drill loads and loads of holes in it, pull the thread in and keep it going. Now you've got to paint around the thread, which is awkward, and I can't remember. I think I done mine after on the Matchbox one. I don't remember them drilling out the holes. I may be wrong. It was a long time ago when I built it. I will, however, think in this particular instance is choose the plane you're going to build. Alright, choose it, whichever one you want to do, and get the paints out. Prime the hull, the fuselage, and paint your external colour near around the places where you're going to pull the bracing wire through. And then you can mask it up and keep it out of the way. And then when you put the fuselage together, you can do your seam lines, sand and fill them, and then spray over the top of them and peel back the mask of the tape that you use to mask up the holes and the cables, and hopefully you've got a match in between the paint. That's the only way I can see you're going to be doing this. It's unless we can put short pieces in there. That's another way. Actually, yeah, we could do short pieces in this. Tie them off on the outside. Spray around them. Don't worry about getting paint on the cord. When you painted the top coat on it, untie them. Super glue a piece of the cord you're going to use for the bracing wire, and then pull it through the holes and re-thread it using the little small one to pull it through all the holes you need to pull it through, and do it that way. Or drill the holes, use stretch sprue and use the holes as a gluing point for the stretch sprue. That's the only 3 ways I can think of doing this. I'll go into more detail later. So again, here we have the propeller. Now, the centre section says do not glue here, because where the propeller rotates. And then you've got a piece on the back here that goes onto the propeller to stop it coming off. I put this piece into the nose of the aircraft and leave the prop loose. I never put the props on. I try and keep them free, so that if I ever move, pack it away anywhere, the props come off and they lie on a bit of foam in the packaging, and then they don't get broken. I too many break that way. Anyway, right, control holes and everything else on there. Doing the wires and all that sort of. I'll deal with that during the build. And you can have the doors open or closed. Now, you can have the doors open on both sides or just one side. I must admit, usually the door was never open on one side of the aircraft, it was permanently closed. Windscreens in there, but I would tend to leave them off until you've done the top coat, because you can always put them on afterwards and it will give that nice clean look to the glazing. And the float planes here, the ski planes here. This is for the AC one, which is the small glazing. Here is the ski plane with a full canopy. There's 2 of them here, which is the B version. Again, here we start on the wings. Again, drilling holes. It's a 0.6 drill, so I'll maybe get a couple of boxes, because if you break your drill you're going to have to go out and buy a new lot anyway. So I'll get a 0.6 drill, a couple of boxes, so that you've got them anyway. If you break them, you can reuse them. AC and the B versions are different in this section here. AC have got this part with the pilot's tube on. The B part has different wing struts, so you need to know which one you're doing. I usually take a pencil and just cross out the one I'm not doing. It's nice and simple, you know, you won't make a mistake. Put the wings on there. This is another section here. It's telling you to put the wing on the top and the wing on the bottom and drilling holes in it. Then here they're telling you to put the other half of the wing on. So they're asking you to try and glue the wing up on the model and not flat on the bench. It's one of those things where it can be done, but it's such an awkward thing to do that way, because that means you've got to try and match in the joints. So you've got to paint them first anyway, put them on the model, do all the rigging, then slap the top half of the wing on, and the bottom half of the wing, and then repaint the joints. It's how to repaint the joints. It's a long way round. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You have to do it that way. When I come to the building, we'll sort that out with the building. Again, there's lots of bits and pieces here to do. There's different types of undercarriage as well. I've got to say that I do note this. There's 2 types of undercarriage. There's a rearward facing wheels, or they're virtually straight up and down to the fuselage, and then there's ones that are cracked forward. For training purposes and all that, normally you have them as straight struts, and it gives you a longer momentum on the aircraft for landing and taking off. It makes it a lot easier. When you have them forward, the momentum's changed on the aircraft, and it takes a little bit more getting used to flying on it. Anyway, and then we got the paint call outs on the back. The third one here is the command of the Netherlands Army Air Force, 1947, in the museum at 1997 in the Netherlands. So it lasted quite a long time, you know, especially going straight into the museum as well. It's nice. Anyway, and a couple of blank pages there, and the reason for the blank pages, believe it or not, is the colour call outs and the instructions for the float plane version. But it gives you somewhere to write your notes on what you need to. So I'm going to put them inside there to keep them good. That's the review of the Tiger Moth. I haven't gone on too long about it, but I do love the Tiger Moth. I don't know whether I mentioned it, but I did take my PPL in this. I learnt to fly on one of these. I was 30 hours of learning flying, and I learnt down in Aldershot for a private airfield, and I took my test over at Farnborough. It was a nice place to do then. We had nice hot summer days, and that was a lovely flying experience, but I couldn't afford one, so I actually got myself an Ossa J4. Fuselage came from the chap I knew down at Farnham. Actually, who bought it. That's why I got to know him, and he started training me on his Tiger Moth. And the engine actually came from Yorkshire. I had to hunt around for that, but I finally got it up and running. And when I moved, I had to either leave it in the hangar to rot or sell it. And I decided to give it to the local museum, and that's where it is now, as far as I know. Anyway, that's a bit of waffle at the end of this review. Hopefully you can get a good insight into what you're going to be buying. And these are still around a lot, and they're not that expensive either. And they're a nice kit. They're a big kit. They're a 32nd scale kit. Bit of trouble with the wiring, but I'll get to that during the build. So, see you soon with the build.